2024 presidential prediction, Glenn Youngkin versus Joe Biden. If Glenn Youngkin runs and wins their primaries, Republican primaries, what would happen in such a scenario as this? Well, Joe Biden, let's go and start here with his approval rating. Obviously, we've seen his approval rating drop recently. It was kind of going up in July, and then it just goes down in August. Polls of likely registered voters, doesn't really matter, same thing, still dropping. So again, not really good numbers for him there. But matter of fact, let's go and mark the safe states for Joe Biden. Joe Biden's going to win the West Coast. He's going to win New Mexico, Colorado. I think New Mexico is going to be closer. I think Glenn Youngkin can pull it down to a lead margin, but Glenn Youngkin probably gonna run it up in some of these other states like Mississippi, Louisiana, the safe Republican states that are going to win. I'm going to fill in real quick. No, not Minnesota, not yet. Wyoming, Utah, any of these states. I think Glenn Youngkin can win the state of Montana by a lean margin. And then, yeah, so this is what the map looks like right now. Can't forget about South Carolina. It's going to go to Biden by Glenn Youngkin by a likely margin. So let's go and check on some other states, some other safe Joe Biden states like Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Maryland, D.C. That brings Joe Biden to 144, Glenn Youngkin's 112. Well, we're getting to some interesting states that usually get closer, like Iowa and the Rust Belt. Obviously, Joe Biden's going to win New York, and then the whole state of Maine, except for the 2nd district. I think Glenn Youngkin can win the 2nd district. That brings him to 124 to 175 with Glenn Youngkin really pulling out victories with Latinos, some Latinos. Joe Biden would win in the states of Michigan. I don't think he's going to afford losing the state. I think it's going to be a tilt margin for him. I think someone like Glenn Youngkin with up north, I think he can do better somewhere in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, but I'm not going to touch those states. We're going to do those states last. Glenn Youngkin going to win the state of Alaska by I would say by a likely margin. I think Glenn Youngkin would do better than Trump in Alaska. Let's just take a look at Alaska last time around. 53-43, yeah. I think Glenn Youngkin can do a little bit better than Trump. I think he can definitely win that state, obviously. I don't think it's ready to turn blue. It shifted blue, but again, I think Glenn Youngkin can definitely win that. And plus Joe Biden's approval rating, and we'll just have to see how his approval and disapproval ends up at the end of the primaries and during 2024 election. We're going to have to see where his approval rating is at. But I think Joe Biden could win the state of Minnesota by a lean margin and end up winning, yes, Glenn Youngkin's home state and where he is governor. I think Joe Biden's going to win it way less than he usually does. He's going to win the state of Virginia by a lean margin. He's going to bring it down to a lean margin. Yes, that is very close for Virginia in the recent years. Joe Biden won here 54.1 to 44% for Donald Trump. So I think Glenn Youngkin can win in Virginia Beach, maybe, stuff like that, and just do better all around the state in the rural areas. But I don't think it's going to be enough at the end of the day, so Joe Biden's going to win the state, but way less than he did in 2020. That, in matter of fact, that, anyways, as I said, Glenn Youngkin, that is his home state. He is the governor. Governor technically is more important than a senator, so they're basically like the president in the state. The governorship is, so Virginia could go very well to the right this time around, shift to the right in Virginia. Joe Biden going to win states like Illinois, I think he is going to win New Hampshire. I think he's going to barely hold it on, though. I think he's going to win by a tilt margin. Not as close as 2016, but I think he can get it to a little over maybe 2 points to 1.5 maybe victory for Joe Biden, maybe about 2 to 3 points here. We talked about Texas. It's definitely kind of leaning blue. Now, if you take a look in Texas, a lot of counties shifted to the right down here in the south. Let's just take a look. Take a look down here. Watch this down here, and then shift from 2016. Look at all that. It's going way right, but also, and these are Latino areas. Also in El Paso, going 7.6 more to Trump. These are Latino areas. This is where Donald Trump did better. Hillary Clinton did very well with Latinos, relatively speaking, and Donald Trump did very well with Latinos in 2020, running it up, while Joe Biden did very well in the suburbs with some older white voters and some other white voters and African Americans in some of these cities. But also, I got to remind y'all that Trump did somewhat well with African Americans, gaining a little bit of ground in Miami-Dade there as well. But I think Joe Biden at the end of the day, Glenn Youngkin can win the state by a lean margin, just like Donald Trump did. He's probably going to get the bottom the same margin. He's going to win 167 to 236 now. 236 won for Joe Biden, electoral votes to 167 for Glenn Youngkin. Now, we still have a lot of states left, so let's go through them fast. Youngkin's going to win the state of Florida. This one is shifting more to the right. I think he's going to win it by a lean margin. Also, I think he's going to win just neighboring his home state where he's governor. I think he's going to win the state of North Carolina by a lean margin, getting him to 213. I think he also can obviously win the state of Ohio by a likely margin. I think that was going to be a big one. Let's just take a look at Ohio for a minute. Ohio, one of those states that shifted way right in 2016. You see what shifted left, some of these cities down here. But again, I think Glenn Youngkin can do better than Donald Trump. He's going to win it by a likely margin. So 230 to 236, look how close it is in the Electoral College right now. I think Glenn Youngkin can win the states of Iowa. I think he can win this. Joe Biden is going to win the state of Hawaii. I forgot about that one. And then let's move on to the state of Arizona and Nevada before we go to the Rust Belt in Georgia. Arizona, one of those states that went to Joe Biden by a decent margin, not really decent at all. He only won it by 0.3% in the state. Very close. Donald Trump won this in 2016. Joe Biden flipped the state. I think someone like Glenn Youngkin can definitely do better in the Phoenix area. I think he can get about 49%, maybe even doing a little bit better than that, but we'll see. Glenn Youngkin maybe gets a little better than Donald Trump in these areas, and I think Glenn Youngkin can win the state of Arizona by a tilt margin, flipping the state of Arizona, and I think Glenn Youngkin can win the state of Nevada. I think he can barely hold on there. Let's take a look in 2020. Look, Joe Biden won here 48-50. I think, someone like Glenn Youngkin can barely maybe flip it by 0.2, 0.3, 0.4%, something like that in Reno area. Maybe, and then if he even doesn't win this, he can do way better out here and possibly even win the state. But I think he needs to win Washoe County to make up the ground. I think he can do that, just barely. Maybe even not even winning it, just on the edge of winning it. And he only wins the state by 3,000 to 4,000, somewhere around there, and he will win the state of Nevada. I think he's also going to do better in Clark County. Definitely a place where he can do better, and I think that's why he's going to win the state. Georgia, this one's a little tougher. I think Youngkin can do definitely better. because, again, near neighboring states of his, just kind of his area where he would do good, in my opinion. Let's go ahead and check. Georgia, he might do a little bit better in the suburbs for sure, because around here in the suburbs areas, I think he can definitely do a little bit better, but I don't think it will be enough to actually win the state. I think that Joe Biden could win it again by a tilt margin around the same or a little bit less than what he got in 2016 or 2020. Excuse me, 2020. So 256 for Joe Biden, 253 for Glenn Youngkin. What's left? Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. Who's going to win Wisconsin? I think Glenn Youngkin can pull out Wisconsin, winning that state just barely. He's going to hold on to the state, or flip the state of Wisconsin, and get 263 electoral votes to 256. Back to Georgia. I just want to talk about Georgia for a second. Georgia is shifting way to the left. If you think about it, Hillary Clinton wasn't really close. I mean, she got closer than Mitt Romney, than Obama. So this state is getting really blue, and then honestly, Joseph R. Biden winning it. So I think that Joe Biden can barely hold on to the state, but I think it might even be closer than 10,000 gap. I think it's gonna be like a 5,000, maybe even closer. I know that sounds crazy, but I think it is. That would be extremely close. It might be like a state like Florida in 2000, maybe separated by just 1,000 votes. I think Glenn Youngkin could just fall a little bit short there. Glenn Youngkin in the state of Pennsylvania and Joe Biden in the state of Pennsylvania. This one's more interesting. This is the last state because it really comes down to this state in most elections, especially in 2016. It's really hard to make a prediction here. The suburbs tend to be swing counties, whatever go to, if Glenn Youngkin can do definitely better in the swing counties here and the suburban counties, maybe flip this center county and definitely flip Erie. If he can flip Erie, Erie's a bellwether, Erie's blue collar. If usually Erie decides elections. Donald Trump won it back in 2016, and he won the state. And then Joe Biden won it in 2020 and won the state. So it usually decides the election. So I think Glenn Youngkin can win there. But is it enough? Well, I think it will be enough, just barely. So Glenn Youngkin would win in this map, 282 to 256, barely beating out Joe Biden. This map could look very different, obviously. It's just a prediction. So, guys, please don't get mad over it. It's just a prediction. Things could change, obviously. I could do this election again, and I would fill in the map